and freeze. I almost kind of don't want that fixing now. It's just it's part of the Friday experience, isn't it? Cheers, everyone. It's Friday. It's here again, and we're on the beer. Hope you've all had a fantastic week, and as I say, good health. Oh, that's a pleasant drop. Before we go any further tonight, I want to say, or this afternoon, or whatever time it is, wherever you are, I want to say a big shout out to Rob Bald, or I think he goes by the moniker of Torquemada64 nowadays. He sent me some beer. This is the Gisborough Brewery, and I've got a selection of them here. And this is the Gisborough Brewery Hinterland Kolsch style premium lager, 4.5% alcohol by volume, and it's a very, very pleasant drink, as I've just discovered. So the Gisborough Brewery, I've got a couple of others in the cool bag back there that I will be sampling as the evening's festivities ensue, and I'll let you know what I think of them as we go. But thank you, Rob. You're a gentleman, sir. Anyway, let's see who we've got in. Who was first in? We got Dave McKenna first in, then Terry Day, Rent to Kill, Peter Collins, and a relaxing meditation. After that, we got Johnny Randoms there, then there's Rubbish Guitar Bloke. What you saying there, mate? Bit of a lengthy message. Announced this week, Heineken are to reopen 60 closed pubs, creating 600 new jobs. It's understood that a little town called Redcar is responsible for the increased sales and profits. You had me going there, mate. Well, I'm not on the Heineken this week, as you've just seen. Then we've got Steve Hale and Dave Fiendish. There's PFY Guitars. And the man of the hour, Torquemada64. I'm going to quit work slightly early and hit the garden before popping in for the Friday 5 o'clock flake. Well, thanks for the beer, Rob. You're a gentleman, sir. Then we've got Cylon Hybrid, Autogeddon 1, Anton is in, and there's Theme Tunes, Ben Allmark, Michael Dodds, asking if I've been dog sitting. I have indeed been dog sitting. And he's been very well behaved today, which always makes you think, is this the calm before the storm? Then we've got Dr. Gomez 1, John Channing, there's Grandpa Joe. Too early for a beer at 10:30 a.m, so I have to settle for a coffee. However, being here always makes it a happy day. Well, nice of you to say so, Joe. Thank you so much. There's Sean House, Peter Nicholson, Dave Snack Stevens, where it's finally not raining in Dorset. Then we got Malcolm Thompson, Gordo Canuck, David James, John Mack, Stephen Hedger is in. What are you saying there, mate? Bought a 30-year-old Japanese Fender 58 reissue Strat this week, and it's one of the best Strats I've ever played. The impulse buy, best impulse buy I've made in years. Yeah, those old late 80s, early 90s Japanese reissue Strats were something a bit special. I had one. It was my main guitar for many years. Mine was a 60s reissue with the rosewood board in Sonic Blue, and that guitar was just a great workhorse for me for many a year. Anyway, then we've got Amadeus, and who else we got? Dave Lewis, Steve Entwistle, Vincent Brennan, and we've got Joe McMurray. And who else we got? We got Ian Rouse there, and I can see we've got Stuart Young, and John Ross is in. So is Craig Stamen, local lad. How are you, Craig? 60s man is there. There's Ian Clark. Sunny in Sussex, and all is right in the world. Well, yes. It is nice to start getting the lighter evenings, and you know that big orange ball in the sky. Redcar is often deceptive though, because you can look out the window and see the glorious sunshine, and then you step outside and you've got this howling gale coming in off the sea. That's more often than not what our weather is like. 2-3 miles inland, and people saying, "Oh, it's sweltering," and we're still having to put an overcoat on because of the wind. Anyway, there's Timbo. and we've got David Evans, and Farjon is in, mate. How are you? Then who else have we got? We've got Nathan, we've got Michael Purcell, we've got Frank Boland, we've got Mark Gowans, we've got Maria Davies, we've got Pablo Hank, another local lad, I believe. And scrolling down, I can see we've got Luke's in, and Calby and the Rocco Cat is there as well. Who else have we got? We've got Deco Dude, Chris Ottowell, and the Essex Cat, and we've got Tom Clark in there as well. Nice to see you, mate. Colin Falcon, another local chap. All the Red Car boys pitching in. We've got Gary Shaw, Jamal123 is in. So is Thomas Mulvaney and Mr. Chris 5254. Phil is there. So is Dudley Squat and Carl Tom, another local boy. Rexomatic, what are you saying there, Rex? Rehearsing new songs with the band today, including a collaboration with Mr. Robson from last summer. I remember doing that with you. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a collaboration. It was just some ideas we bounced around in your lesson, mate. You know, but you know, it was mainly your input, as I recall. I was just sort of offering suggestions. If my memory's correct. Anyway, then we got Peter Goddard, guitar bass dude. Bill Mumbo is in, so is James Hunt. And anyone else? Paul Trainer, I've said you already, haven't I, mate? Peter S. Cal Texper is in. And, Paul Trainer, you are a gentleman, sir. Thank you so much. Very, very greatly appreciated. Thank you, basically. Then sometimes dim, never thin, and I'm not often lost for words, but you know, just the generosity, people just chucking a couple of quid in the tip jar. It's very touching. Then we've got Mark Grant, Edwin Toonan, greetings from Amsterdam. Steve Cassidy guitar there. Don't forget, Steve has an upload going out directly after this live stream, so go and check that out. I believe you're looking at a Gretsch this week, aren't you, Steve? Then we've got the Essex Cats, Stephen Ellis, Derek Clacton, Ron Wells, Maria Davies is in, and there's Michael Beliveau, and anyone else to Budget Guitar Show. How are you, Johnny? Loving that Jet JT300 that you've been doing some stuff with, mate. Great guitars, aren't they? You look at them and you think, yeah, okay, budget guitar, and then you pick one up and you feel the neck profile on it and you think, oh yes, very much so. Then we got J. Ao Young, Strapboy 999, Ravi is in, Mississippi Blues, and who else have we got? We've got Martin Brown, and I'm Not Creative. Nice to see you, Joshua. And I think that's possibly everyone. Apologies if I've missed you. Robin Fawcett there, I'm just quickly scrolling. Neil Roberts. Now, I think that's Watches and Guitars is in, Randy Upchurch, and I think that's possibly everyone. Cushman, New York City, there you are, mate, and I think that's everybody. Apologies if I've missed anyone out there, but if I was to kind of, go on any longer, it would take up the entire stream just reading out the roll call. But everyone is appreciated. Thank you, all 170 souls on board who turn up every Friday to sit and listen to and watch a fat bald lad with a very shiny head drinking beer and talking nonsense for an hour. Let me just see if I can get the shine off me heed. Let's move that down a bit. There, how's that? Is that a bit better? We'll live with it, whatever it is. Oh, it's looking a bit. There we go. We'll leave it at that. What the hell? Yes. So anyway, let's run through quickly what's coming up on the channel this week. The usual format. Sunday is a review or a jam of some kind. Monday is a solo analysis. Tuesday is a top 5 list. Wednesday is a viewer's question, slightly different one this week, and then Thursday it's just a wild card. It could be anything. So let's see what this week is going to be bringing. Sunday, as you probably know, if you were watching yesterday and you saw the unboxing of this guitar, this little cheap and cheerful PRS with the racing pigeons, as I've started calling them. The PRS SECE 24 standard satin. It's the full-on deep dive review of that on Sunday. Then a Queen solo on Monday. That's what we're going to be looking at. And for a while, in the early 80s, Queen, I think, sort of lost the plot a little bit. When it all got a little bit disco, didn't it? Around the time of the Hot Space album, and I think even the most ardent Queen fan will concede that isn't the pinnacle of their career. And then they really kind of just got back in the groove again as the 80s moved on, and those final years for Queen, they got back to doing what they were, kind of what would kind of come to expect from them in the 70s. And it's, I think, one of the better solos from that kind of latter period of the band's career before we sadly lost Freddie. Then Tuesday, top 5 list. I've done these kind of lists for so long now, it's difficult for me often to remember what topics I've covered and what I haven't. And I always say when I do a lot of these lists that, well, this is how this list looks this week, but ask me in, a few months' time and it might be quite different. So that's me get out clause if I do find myself repeating these lists. But to the best of my knowledge, I've never done this top 5 list. I've talked about my 5 favourite bands or artists in a particular genre. I've talked about my 5 favourite albums in a particular style of music, or 5 favourite live albums in this or that genre or whatever. What I've never done, I don't think, is list my top 5 favourite bands of all time, regardless of genre. And that's what we're going to be looking at on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, I got into a little bit of a back and forth, shall we say, with somebody that was, one of these militant anti-music theory kind of people. It's basically kind of trotting out all of the old tropes that nobody who's ever written any music that's worth listening to had any understanding of music theory, therefore I'm not going to learn it. I always make the mistake of trying to be polite and reasonable with these people, and and then they just come back at you like the full-on 24-carat gold-plated, fire-breathing gobshite on steroids, and that's what this bloke did. So basically, I thought, well, okay, my response to your response, mate, will be a video. So that's what Wednesday's video is all about. Not so much a viewer's question, but a viewer's rant that I'm responding to. And then on Thursday, it is another behind-the-scenes video. The more observant amongst you will probably have noticed that when I do the Sunday videos where there's a guitar demonstration, there's a piece of music that is always about 2 to 2.5 minutes long. It's always, if it's 2.5 minutes long, it's because I've done it at 120 beats per minute. If it's closer to 2 minutes long, it's because I've done it at 130 beats per minute in terms of the tempo. But they always follow a set kind of template where there's a crunchy kind of power chordy riff, some strummy chords, some clean lead, go back to the riff again with some kind of twiddly lead guitar over the top of it, and all of these components slot together. And basically, I'm going to take you through that writing process on Thursday, how I put something like that together, because it's not something, when I'm doing those tunes, it's not something that I'm doing as a piece of music. I'm going to say this is an artistic statement from me as a piece of music. It's just there purely to show the different kind of tones that the guitar will produce, and and I've got this kind of formula for it, and I'm going to show you what that is and how I put it all together on Thursday. And then after Thursday, it's Friday, and we're back on the beer. Cheers, everyone. Let's have a look, see what's been going on in the chat. I've got to tell you, Rob, this is a really nice drop of beer. Thank you so much, mate. It's very, very flavourful. Who's saying that? Peter Goddard, top 5 Reaper plugins. That's an idea, I suppose. Top 5 Reaper plugins. I don't know that I actually use as many as 5, because one thing that I find indispensable when I'm recording is Guitar Rig. Now, most people kind of talk about Guitar Rig as basically an amp modeling software, but I absolutely cane the effects out of that. All of the usually a lot of the choruses and reverbs and delays and stuff that you hear on my guitar tone when it's been recorded in a video come courtesy of Guitar Rig. So that's only one plugin. I'm just thinking if I could stretch that out to 5. I suppose I probably could. Jamal, I'm with you on that one, mate. Under Pressure is a great track. I forgot that came from the Hot Space album. Raimondo Galfredi, I like Hot Space. Now I feel ashamed. Nothing to be ashamed about, mate. We can't all like the same things. Let's have a look. A few guesses about the Queen solo. I'll tell you what the Queen solo is. It's Friends Will Be Friends. Just nice kind of stadium rock. Brian May doing that kind of melodic kind of thing that he was just, well, he is, speaking in the past tense, that he is, an absolute master of. What else we got? Johnny Random, I have a very shiny head today as I scraped it with a razor. Make up for Mr. Robson. Yes. Yes, it's never happened. It has once, I believe. When you're a student and you pass out, you go to sleep after maybe 1 or 2 sherries too many, and you wake up and your friends, and I use the term loosely, have borrowed some poor lady's makeup bag and they've kind of, what was that toy that kids used to have in the 70s girls used to have in the 70s where they could practice makeup skills on it, and you wake up in the morning with a hangover that would stop a tank, and you're plastered with mascara and blusher and lipstick and other girl things that I can't really kind of bring to mind. That happened to me once or twice. Joyful student japes. Ian Clark, I saw De Matrona in Brighton and had a chat with the extra guitar player after. He had a very nice looking Strat and Telly, but both turned out to be from Warmouth. Have you ever played any? I haven't, not knowingly. Raimondo Galfredi, thank you, mate. You are a gentleman, sir. I've not knowingly played any guitar that has like Warmouth parts. I have found myself on the Warmouth website a couple of times, kind of doing that kind of thing that you do, pricing up like a boutique parts caster. But it's just, maybe I will one day, but I'm really, really loving that little Jet guitar at the moment with that's had all the mods done to it. So Dr. Gomez is saying you're lucky you could have been teabagged. Is that personal experience, mate? Does that happen to you? Hey, John, if you could go back in time and witness the making of an album, what album would you choose? Says Truman. Right, okay, that's going to be album sessions. I'll know what I mean when I say top 5 album sessions. Off the top of my head, I would definitely say the one that springs to mind immediately would be Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs by Derek and the Dominos. It is one of those albums where you feel like you're in the room with the musicians when you're listening to it. And it would be just so cool to actually be in the room, in somewhere or other. Another one, probably, I I know it's culled from a couple of different concerts, but to be at one of the gigs where the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore was kind of committed to tape. That would have been, a, a cool experience to have, I suppose. That's that. I'm not going to say any more because that is going to be definitely going to be a top 5 list. Jimmy James is saying Layla has tons of jam sessions too. Yes, I imagine that there was probably a lot more material than actually made it onto the finished double album there, because you just got the feeling that Eric and Dwayne especially were just, kind of sparking off each other, right the way throughout this recording. Johnny, mate, you are so kind. For all your help and encouragement to me and my little show. Johnny, you are, just keep plugging away at it, mate. I like what you do, and I don't always catch your live streams because I'm usually kind of otherwise occupied then, but I always try and watch them on catch up, and as I say, you have your own unique take, Johnny, and just keep plugging away at it. It's from personal experience, mate, and this is the same for anybody out there who's got a YouTube channel. I was kind of thumping away at this for 10 years, and I had I wasn't even monetized from 2008 to 2018. I wasn't even monetized, and then boom, one video just kind of gets some traction, and it goes, and you never know what that video is going to be. You never know when I think probably the worst thing you can do is to try and plan that, is to try and kind of contrive it in some way. Just make the videos you want to make. If you're having fun making them, that will show. And at some point, it will just. I mean, people talk about, don't they, about the YouTube algorithm and how to harness it, and no one knows. No one knows. It's like that old Jasper Carrot sketch. There's only one way to get rid of a mole. Classic sketch, if you're not aware of it, by the way. It's probably up on YouTube. Go and check it out. I don't think anyone knows. It's chucking darts at the board. And if you chuck enough darts at the board, sooner or later, one of them's going to end up hitting the bullseye. And when it does, you end up with, a channel that goes from like 300 subscribers to, 30,000 and plus change I've got now, just off the back of one video that will do it for you. So just keep on trying to make that video, mate. Let's have a look, see what else we've got to talk about. Jimmy James is saying the jams have been released a few times. They must have slipped me by, mate, but there's probably some deluxe anniversary kind of collector's edition version of the album that record companies love to do every now and again, just to kind of get a bit more cash out of it, out of their back catalogue. So I shall have a scoot around and see if I can find those. Terry Day saying, what are your thoughts on flat wound strings? Have you ever used them? I think I had, if you remember, it's got to be at least a couple of years ago, I had a couple of guitars in here, big old jazz boxes. One was a vintage Gibson ES something or other. I'm useless with those model names, but basically it was it wasn't like a 335 or anything like that. This was like a full-on hollow body arch top acoustic with a neck humbucker, a neck P90, I believe it was, in fact. I had one of those, and I had a Godin Fifth Avenue, just to do a sort of comparison. And I think the Gibson had flat wounds on. And on that guitar, it felt correct. Do you know what I mean? But on any other guitar, I put them on a Strat or a Telecaster or something, and it's going to start feeling a little bit weird. and kind of unusual. I can't say it left a lasting impression on me, but I do remember thinking, okay, this adds to the whole old school jazz vibe of it. ES175, thank you, Jay How Young. You've got a better memory than me, mate. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open another one of these. This is the Gisborough Brewery again, and this is their Elevator American Pale Ale. So I don't think I've ever had an American Pale Ale before, but there's a first time for everything. I'm just going to pour this and get ready to start typing the word flake, everyone. And then what we're going to do is we're going to head off over to the gallery and take a little bit of a look at some of the guitar pictures that have been sent in this week. Well, not all this week. They come in all the time and they just go into a folder, and then every Friday, as I'm hurriedly setting up the live stream, I choose maybe 10 or a dozen or so to kind of throw up on the live stream at random. That's not a bad pour, is it? That's not bad. Can't complain at that, can you? So this is, as I said, Gisborough Brewery Elevator American Pale Ale. Let's see what kind of part of the palate this tickles. Yeah, that's kind of somewhere between. It's almost like a very, very, very light ale, or a very sort of, or a slightly heavier than normal lager. It's very acceptable. Anyway, people saying it's fruity and citrus. I'm going to start sounding like one of these wine ponces, aren't I? I'm getting elements of butterscotch and coffee grounds and a hint of rose petal. No, it's not. I tell you what it tastes like. It tastes very, very beery, and that will suit me. Anyway, let's go and have a little bit of a look at the guitar pictures that we are looking at this week. And why is that doing that? Excuse me a second. Just a little technical issue here. I have screen recording software that I use to alter the amount of glare on my bonds, and because it has very accessible camera controls, and it started recording for some reason. So where am I going? I'm going to viewers guitar picks. That's the folder I need, and that's in that folder, and then that's in that folder. And then let's open this one up and come back to here, share screen, and here we go. This is another one of, I think this is Mr. Chris there in the chat with his Harley Benton. This is I think this is the SC Custom, isn't it? The one which is the ESP or LTD kind of looky-likey. Had one of those ages ago on the channel, and I think it was not that one because mine wasn't a left-hander, but it was like a beast of a guitar, really kind of full-on kind of metal kind of thing. And there's another one of Mr. Chris's guitars, another Harley Benton. I think, is this the JA60, the Jaguar, or Jazzmaster rather, kind of thing. Yeah, if you like that sort of thing. Yeah, good on you. Let's see what's next. Oh, here's a couple from Dave Lewis. What we've got here is a Squier Jazzmaster, and next to it we've got this gold Burns guitar. When you sent me this picture, mate, I said, does it come with a candelabra? And because it does look a little bit Liberace, doesn't it? But it's there. It is. Those pickups there, by the way, I used to know the guy who, when they resurrected the Burns brand in the 90s, or one of the times they resurrected it, they were the prototypes were made in Redcar by a local guy, a bit of a legend, sadly no longer with us, called Jim Cairns, and he was responsible for making much of those the prototypes of those guitars, including the pickups. Then there's another one from Dave Lewis. This is his modded Squire Strat, which is very smart looking. You did give me the full details on this, mate, but I can't remember them and I haven't got them to hand at the moment. But what you did mention is that it's the one with the full thickness body, which means that you can throw in a big old chunky trem block in there, which some people will insist has an impact on the tone. I think it's debatable, but what it does do is it increases the tactile resonance of the guitar, which makes you play it a little bit more enthusiastically, and that definitely has an impact on the tone. Then there's another one from Dave Lewis. You've sent me quite a lot of pictures, haven't you, mate? His Fender Screamadelica Strat. Gosh, you remember when that album came out? And it's like I genuinely thought that who's this? Is this a new Stones album? Is it the Black Crowes? And then when I heard it was Primal Scream, it was like, okay, bit of a change of direction for those chaps, but there you go. And now we've got some guitars from Farjon. What we've got here is a Hart custom build, a vintage V52 reissue. Great guitars, great kind of if you're looking for for a long time, if you were looking for a kind of cheap Telecaster or a cheapish Telecaster, then these Trev Wilkinson vintages were absolutely fantastic. I've noticed the vintage brand are using Allen Entwistle pickups much more these days. Have they kind of vintage and Trev Wilkinson parted ways? Anyone know anything about that? And then we've got this really kind of not usually into sort of purple sunbursts and stuff like that, but on this guitar, I think it really suits it on this Ibanez here. Nice looking guitar. That's one of those. Have you ever had that where someone will describe a guitar to you and you think, yeah, I don't think that doesn't sound like it's going to be my cup of tea. And then you see it and you think, oh, actually, I don't know. Then another Farjon guitar. This is his PRS SE Custom 24 30th anniversary. Once again, mate, the racing pigeons. I noticed we've got two at the 12th fret there. Is that because it's an anniversary model? And then Timbo's 25th anniversary BC Rich Bitch. I think we're starting to get something of a kind of accurate picture of Timbo's musical kind of likes, aren't we? We look at the pictures of the guitars that he sends us, and it's. I would wager you're not in a country and western band, are you, Timbo? It's you like it a bit kind of shouty and heavy, don't you? But there it is. The BC Rich Bitch. And then another Timbo guitar. This is apparently a James Hetfield inspired Faisley V. And yes, indeed. Let's have a look. And Vincent Brennan. Some lovely pictures from you there, mate. We have a lovely looking Telecaster. A gold top. Left to right. Fender Barhouse Telecaster, a 75 Les Paul Deluxe stock, and a Hutchins Doodlebug. Not a guitar I've ever heard of, Hutchins or a Doodlebug, but that's really going for that sort of 60s kind of cavern club kind of thing going on there, isn't it? And I believe that is the offering for this week. Thank you once again, everyone, for sending in pictures of your wonderful guitar collections. And if you want to see your guitars on the live stream, then just shoot me an email with them. jrguitartuition@gmail.com. Let me put that in the chat in case you want to just kind of see it and write it down or copy and paste it at gmail.com. gmail.com. There we go. That's the email. Send your guitar pictures to that address, and they could very well end up on the live stream. So what have I missed in the chat? Let's have a look. Lots of comments about the guitars there. Steve Cassidy, that'll have your eye out. That'll be the BC Riches, it mate. Calby and the Rocco Cat, love those birdies. I must admit, and I never thought I would say this, but the PRS birds, which for so long have been like a crucifix to a vampire to me. On this guitar, I think they kind of work. I think, as I said, because it's not all kind of dripping in ostentatious bling, this guitar, I think it sort of carries them off reasonably well. And got a couple of interesting comparisons coming up with this guitar in the coming weeks. I've finished filming them in the last week or so. There's a few interesting, nice little kind of shootouts at that guitar. It's a very, very versatile beast, and certainly for the foreseeable future, it's hanging around, and it may eventually be getting a little bit of a trip over to Agrajag to get a little bit of their magic sprinkled on it. All right. Let's have a look, see what else has been going on in the chat. Michael Purcell is saying Andertons are involved in bringing back the Burns, no releases yet. I've heard that as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's a brand that has disappeared and come back and disappeared and come back several times over the, since the 60s, I guess. But that period when, in the 90s, when it kind of came back again, then, I think this will be in about the mid-90s. As I say, my old mate Jim Cairns was, he just used to work out of a little industrial unit on a industrial park up in a little part of Redcar called Warrenby, and it was one of those kind of little industrial parks where, you've got like a tyre and exhaust kind of place, and then you've got maybe usually some sort of engineering kind of works there. There's a big scrapyard next door to it, and he just had one of these little units, and he was building guitars out of it. I actually saw, I was there one time with my old Sonic Blue Strat that we were talking about earlier. I was in there getting some work done on that one time. And, he's got one of those Burns guitars on the bench that he's kind of putting together and wiring it up and everything. So he never got enough credit, I think, Jim Cairns. He built guitars for everybody from Chris Rea to, I believe, the Eagles had a couple of Cairns guitars, or certain members of the Eagles did. And, he never really got a lot of kudos for it. David James, how about a tutorial on something to play in a guitar shop so you don't look a plonker? Yeah, just play Stairway to Heaven and Smoke on the Water. They love that. They don't hear those often enough. So that would be my recommendation. Robert Forsyth is saying, why are you such a fan of stainless steel frets? Because I just like the way they feel. First of all, if you've never played on stainless steel frets and then you pick a guitar up that's got them in, it's suddenly like going from it. The best way I can describe it is, if you've got a blunt knife and you don't realize how blunt it is until you sharpen it, and suddenly it kind of it's effortless. That's the sort of sensation that you get from stainless steel frets. And the fact is that, excuse me. Oh, this is a bit windy, this beer. the fact is that frets will wear down, and you need to either spend money or time and effort on leveling and crowning frets, regular kind of nickel frets, that is. But the stainless steel frets is a much harder metal than the metal that your strings are made out of, so they never wear down. So, you know, if you kind of get a guitar that's properly set up with stainless steel frets and there's no fret buzz and it plays beautifully and, you know, no choking off or anything like that, that is the way that guitar is going to play forever. Okay. Obviously, you know, if you have to adjust it for environmental conditions, because things like, you know, needing to adjust the truss rod can affect whether or not you're getting fret buzz. But, you know, in terms of having to have work done on the frets, you just don't. They're bulletproof. They're there forever. So it's, even though it's a little bit more expensive than a guitar without stainless steel frets, if it's a guitar you're going to have over like a period of a lot of years and play it a lot, you know, because let's not forget, I play guitar 7 days a week for, you know, like up to kind of 8, 9, 10 hours a day, most days. So, you know, I'm the prime candidate for somebody who's going to kind of have a lot of fret wear on me guitars, but not with stainless frets. So there you go. What are you saying there, Jeff? True that when I've gone to stainless steel, suddenly I find myself being able to play stuff I struggled with before. It's, yeah, they are so shiny and glassy and smooth that I used to be a big fan of using fast fret on me strings until I realised that, like this stuff here, I've still got some here. I used to be a big fan of this stuff until I realised that basically your strings get addicted to it. You put a coating of this on your strings and suddenly everything feels slick and slippery and magical, and you know, you can really kind of rattle up and down the neck at warp speed. But then it, you know, when it kind of wears off, your strings go really dull, I find, and you know, kind of and start feeling sticky. So you've got to kind of keep on putting it on. So I kind of wean myself off it. And that's another video that's coming up in a few weeks' time, by the way. The whole topic of coated strings. They cost significantly more, but that is supposedly balanced out by the fact that they are, you know, much more longer lasting. And that is something that I have some thoughts on. You know, and you know, we shall find out what those thoughts are as we get to that video, which will be. Gary Hill is saying, "What does the term choking off mean?" Choking off, it's yeah, it's that's one of those sort of Finbar Saunders double entendres, isn't it? Or it could be, but in a guitar context, choking off means that when you bend a string and the note dies because it's run into a high fret before it reaches the pitch that you're trying to bend it to. You know, it basically, it's one of the most unpleasant kind of experiences when you're playing the guitar, is just that you're going to play a note and you go for that big bend and it just goes, and it's gone because the note has choked. The Lamb is among us, everyone. Here he is. Good afternoon. Just passing through, just installed our new TV because the cat smashed the old one. Now off out to see Hayseed Dixie in a club in town. Oh, brilliant band, mate. I'm sure that'll be a night to remember. Just don't forget to put your baseball cap and dungarees on, mate. Let's have a look. FNAF, Finbar. Yes. For any of our international viewers, Finbar Saunders is a character from a British adult comic book called Viz, and the whole kind of humour of his stories was always about, you know, smutty things that that were kind of, you know, double entendre. You know, double entendre is where it's where you say something rude, but you can have an innocent explanation for it. Anyway, excuse me, chap. Again, Gisborough Brewery Elevator American Pale Ale. It's nice, but so far the Hinterland Lager, I think, is my preference out of the two. But I've got some others to try as the evening progresses on. What you're saying there, Jamal? I tried coated strings because of my nickel allergy, but didn't really vibe with me. Had to go stainless steel. Yeah, as I say, I have. Excuse me. Some considered opinions that I've come to about coated strings, and whether or not they are worth the extra outlay. Because it is true that they don't corrode in the same way as uncoated strings. But that's not the end of the story, as we will find out when we get to the video on those, which is going to be going out either back end of this month or, kind of early next month at some point. I forget the actual date. Let's have a look. What are you saying there, Dave Lewis? There's stainless steel frets and there's stainless steel frets. My Revstar and other guitars with stainless are brilliant. The thin ones on the Harley Benton Fusion. Okay. That's just down to personal taste. That's not to do with the quality of the fret wire, I would say. When I got the Jet refretted at Agrajag guitars, I just said I want stainless steel frets, and he said, "Okay, so what gauge?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, just kind of big and chunky." And he put Jescar something or other frets into it, but basically the biggest, chunkiest jumbo frets that he could put into it, because I do like a big fret. So that's more down to personal taste. Some people like the skinnier vintage fret wire gauges, and if you want that fret wire gauge and you want the advantages of stainless steel frets, then that's another thing. It's just I had on the Harley Benton Fusion T. The frets on that were absolutely fine, and those were the blacksmith stainless steel frets, aren't they, that Harley Benton use. What are we saying here? Michael Purcell is saying, "Don't bother with those 99-cent Toman strings, horrible." I tried some Harley Benton strings once, and they were okay, but they started to sound about a month old after they'd been on the guitar about a week. I did once try a brand of strings when I was, let's say, shall we say, a little bit financially embarrassed. I tried a brand of strings that you could get on eBay called Tiger strings, and they were like 3 sets for a $5, and they were awful. They were just nasty, horrible, and bizarrely, I just don't know what they were made from, because there can't have been much ferrous metal in them, because they weren't, like the D string was pretty much silent. It was just like, it wasn't kind of exciting the magnetic field of the pickup at all. It was bizarre. I'm using at the moment. I've gone back to using legacy strings from Strings Direct. They're off the naughty step now. I did have an appalling customer service experience with them about a year ago, so I just stopped buying from them for a while. But I just needed to put all the guitars in here. I just needed to put a bulk order in for a bunch of sets of strings. And Strings Direct were the best deal, so I've gone back to buying from them again. What we're saying there, Craig? I've always used Ernie ball strings, but got some rotor sound the other day, and they weren't too bad at all. Yeah, rotor sound are fantastic strings. Back in the days when I used to use 10-gauge strings, which I've now gone down to 9s after me like hand issue. You know, I used to use rotor sound yellows all the time, and they were fantastic. And I'm told that Legacy, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but I have been told on good authority that Legacy strings, which are Strings Direct's kind of in-house brand, which I think are like, just about a quid cheaper than like Ernie Balls or Didarios or something. I'm told that they come out of the same factory as Rotor Sounds. Where are we? Let's see what we've got. Jay Ao Young is saying elixirs for me. So you're one of the coated strings devotees, are you? I must admit that what sort of put me onto them. What we got now. We've got Gisborough Brewery Viper, which is an IPA. Oh, a bit stronger, this one. This is 4.8%. So we'll just have a pour of that. And I started using those Didario, is it NYXL coated strings, because James at Agrajag, that's what he strung the jet up with when he'd done the work on it. And I got to tell you, they did feel absolutely splendid in terms of the slickness and slithery, glassy kind of slipperiness of them. But all I'm going to tell you now, spoiler alert, for the video that will be coming up in a few weeks' time, which I haven't made yet. I haven't shot it yet. That's not a bad pour, is that not bad. Coated strings don't corrode and they do feel nice, but maybe there are other drawbacks that you might need to consider if you're going to be spending considerably more on a set of strings than you would for like a set of like regular Didarios or Ernie Balls or Rotor Sounds or whatever. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in that video. And it'll be up to you to decide whether or not it's it's something that will be an issue for you. What are you saying there, Colin? It sounds like strings are very much like locking tuners. The Vanson locking tuners are made in the Jin Ho factory, which also makes the big brand locking tuners. I didn't know that, mate. I didn't know that. I've got to admit, I have done a bit of a 180 on locking tuners. I always thought, well, if you know how to put strings on correctly, you don't need them. And on guitars that don't have locking tuners, I use what is often colloquially known as the luthier's knot. Which some people kick off about because, it's really hard to get the old strings off. Not if you know what you're doing, it isn't. It just isn't. It's just, I've never had any problems with it. But, and I don't honestly think that locking tuners give you any more tuning stability than correctly strung non-locking tuners. And I don't think it's any quicker. Well, I proved that in a video about 5 years ago. It's not. I timed a complete restring with two fairly kind of similar guitars, same scale length, fixed bridge, etc. I timed it, and there was between a guitar which had locking tuners and a guitar which didn't, and there was seconds in it, like about 8 seconds difference in the time it took to restring these two guitars, one of which had locking tuners. So it's no quicker, but what it is just easier and less hassle. It's to undo the luthier's knot, you kind of, you've got to get the pliers out and kind of and get it off that way, which isn't a problem, but it's just one less job to do. So that's the reason I've kind of changed my mind on locking tuners. And there may be a set, if I decide to keep that little PRS there, then there may be a set of locking tuners going on that at some point in the future. Anyway, excuse me, I haven't tasted this this beer yet. This is the IPA. Oh, yeah. What am I going to think about that? What? Let's see what it says on the bottle. This beer is inspired by past glories and future triumphs. The light colour reflects the molten metal once produced in the old foundry in Gisborough, and it has a strength to match the original IPAs, but its future lies in the delicious pine, grapefruit, and spice aromas derived from the modern funky hops. Yeah, pine, grapefruit, and spice. I got it. No, because they would all taste like pine or grapefruit or spice, and this tastes like beer. And a very nice one as well. Thank you, Rob, once again, mate, for your generosity. What you're saying there, Lammy? It almost doesn't matter how you string knot or not, as long as you get enough wines on. There's friction between the wine that the turns will hold. Okay, never thought of it that way. Never thought of like the actual number of wines. I always associate each kind of wrap around the post is going to have a certain amount of slack in it. So I always tend to think that the more turns you have on the post, there's going to be more slack in the string, and it'll take longer to stretch the string in. Never thought of like the friction element of it though. There might be a video in that somewhere. Let's have a look. Sometimes Dim Never Thin says locking tune is better, but not worth the extra expense. Depends which one you buy, mate. As has been said, the Vanson ones are as good as Spurzels or any of the Gotos or anything like that. They do a simple job, and they do it in an unfussy and kind of business-like way, and they're about 30 quid for a set of them, and that's if you can spend 30 quid on something and it does the same job equally as well as something that you spend 100 quid on, well, what are you getting for your other 70 quid? Let's have a look. Michael Beliveau saying beer-flavoured beer is the best. And David Evans is saying, did you see my earlier post to you? No, I didn't, mate. Let's scroll up and have a look in the dying seconds. Let's have a look. Here we go. I asked Vic to put semi-jumbo frets on my dad's 73 Gibson Les Paul Custom to make it easy for him to play. Purists might say that's sacrilege. Yeah, well, that's up to them, isn't it? I had a good mate, a bloke I used to know once upon a time. It was round about the time when the National Lottery in the UK had started, and the conversation was always, what would you do if you won the lottery? And this chap said, I'm going to buy a Paul Reed Smith Dragon. Remember those guitars? The really ornate PRSs. He says, I'm going to hack a Floyd Rose into it with a blunt chisel because it's mine and I can do with it what I want. And on that note, Dougal's barking downstairs, so I'm going to have to go and see what he's up to. That's it for this week, folks. Thank you once again, each and every one of you, for turning up and watching a fat bald lad talk nonsense and drink beer for an hour. It's been a blast, and I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.